What is up, everyone? Welcome back to another video today, and in this video I'm going to be assessing the full list of NG future releases. This has been a very big topic within the hobby over the last several months, especially with NG's release choices, and now they have started to, at least for a while now, they have been pumping out a bunch of future release announcements, and the backlog of those that they have is quite immense, so I think it's about time that I take a look at this and see what's going on, because there is a lot to go over and could potentially shape the future for NG, since they have been in a bit of a hole the last year, and especially throughout much of 2025, partly influenced by the whole tariff situation in the US and it affecting them to be able to effectively make US releases. But there's certainly a lot more to that topic, and I'll save that for another time. But what I really want to do is just look through all the future releases and then just provide my thoughts on them as a whole to see where NG could potentially go to round off the year. Starting off, we have the Icelandair 757s. This is with this Pan Am livery when they did the around the world trip for those that have very deep pockets. Gemini Jets has also done this as a future release. Neither manufacturer has yet to formally announce it and have it ready within a month's time. But they did do one for each scale, 1 to 400 and 1 to 200, as you see there. And then moving up, we have the Qatar 777-300ER, the UEFA Champions League, this new blue special livery. Now, these are some of the older future releases, so most of these you would already be familiar with. This one's really nice. This is a Transavia A321neo, the special retro livery, which has recently taken flight. I think Transavia is pretty close to taking delivery of this, if they haven't already. And then moving up, we have the 747-400 prototype livery. If that photo would load, that would be very much appreciated, but as we know, this website is not exactly perfect. It's a little more polished, but at least I can show you this photo, because both are the same anyway. But this is the prototype 744, the same one that's at the Delta Flight Museum now, wearing Delta colors. This one, they are doing a NG Lite release as well with less details, so I'm not sure exactly how that's going to look, whether or not they will remove like the little airline logos, which you can see right up here. Wow, this image is actually really high quality, so you can see all the different carriers. You have Northwest, Singapore, KLM, Lufthansa. I can't see what the next three are. I think British Airways is one of them. ANA, maybe. I want to say Eva Air is the one right behind Lufthansa. And then Korean, I don't know what the next one is. Don't know the next one either. United, Thai Airways, not sure about the next one. JAL, Air New Zealand, Malaysia, I think Air France, and I don't know what the last one is right there. So that's all the different logos just above the passenger windows there. Just wanted to look at that because the image resolution is pretty good here. And then moving up, we have a couple of Korean Air 737-900s in the new livery. They're doing two different registrations, Hotel Lima 8248 and Hotel Lima 8273. Next up is an Air Europa 737 MAX 8 to finally please the European collectors, because they have been neglected pretty badly this year, I would say. But this and also the Transavia A321neo will be very nice for those collectors. And then we move into a bunch of aircraft from China. We have this Comac ARJ21, now is Comac C909 for Comac Express with a pretty cool looking blue and green livery. It's just a demonstrator livery, essentially. And then there's also a second demo livery, this one a little more simple, with blue colors instead. And then there's some more C909s, actually a bunch of them here. So we have an Air China example as well. There's two of them with different registrations, but the second one will look the same, just with that different tail number. And then there's a China Eastern example in here. Another pair. One of them is an NG Lite as well, which isn't clearly marked on the photo, but it does say standard in the table there, which they have changed some of the details with the tables. Now they have the scale more clearly labeled with different colored strokes. So you have black strokes on the 1 to 400, and then it's bluish on the 1 to 200s. And then the availability labeled as well, future, which is a bit hard to see on that blue background. And then we have some 737-800s for China Postal Airlines. There are 3 of them in total, all of them with different registrations. This one does not have winglets, and I don't know what the third one will be like, if this one will have winglets or not, or maybe a slightly different livery, which again, I'll be able to tell if the photo will load, which it's not doing for me today. Oh, there it goes. Looks like just the same livery as the first one. Then we have some Sichuan A350s. We finally move away from the Panda route ones. They did, I don't know how many of them exactly they have, but I think they did every single one now. So they have moved away from that. So a couple of A350s. Now they are different winglets. This one's the older winglet, and then the bottom one is the slightly updated winglet, the one that's a little more sharper and more refined. And then the third one as well, just with a different registration and that old winglet. Korean Air 748 new livery. I have plans to get this at some point. I don't know who exactly I'm going to get it from. I know Phoenix and HX models have released this, and then JC Wings has plans to make this as well. And now NG announcing this as a future release. Exact tail number that I spotted in Atlanta not long after I arrived at the Renaissance Hotel. I have a couple Junyao Air A321s. This is the Legoland Shanghai Resort. And then there's also an Ultimate Collection variant that they're going to make as well, which again is not marked in this photo. Then we have a JetBlue A320 in the Dunkin' livery for Dunkin' Donuts. I think they have a new partnership, or one that they are expanding upon if it has lasted a while. So this is a really nice livery. I like the orange and the magenta colors going here. Definitely would be interested in adding this to the collection, and a very nice JetBlue release from NG. China Southern 738, a very colorful livery, I must say. This one is Zhuhai City of Youth. And there's also an energetic Zhuhai special livery as well. Not sure what that one will look like. Again, I'll be able to tell if the photo will load. I have to keep clicking out of it because it's not going to do anything, but there you go. Okay, this one actually looks really interesting. I like the dolphin up front. That one looks really nice. I must say that these Chinese airlines actually have really nice special liveries. It's just that they're not within my collecting criteria. Hawaiian A321neo, another new airline for the A321neo family anyway, since they have done some 787s, and I think they did an A330 as well in the past. There are two different Hawaiian A321neos, one of them being with the Lilo and Stitch livery, because they just did a live-action edition of the original animated movie that came out like 20 years ago. I haven't seen it, but I remember knowing somebody that would always did a Stitch voice, just for fun. I don't know what that was all about, but I thought that was interesting. First time I got exposed to Lilo and Stitch anyway. Sichuan A330-200, just a standard livery. And this one does have some reservations made, I believe, and then there's also a Hawaiian example just above that. Actually, those are the ones that have reservations, but there was a second Sichuan that I skipped over on accident, just different registrations. But yeah, Hawaiian A330s, and the second one actually has, there's another Lilo and Stitch livery that they're doing here, so you see Stitch just above the engines. China Southern 777-200ER, we've got three of them. This one says, the little text on the bottom, it should say Trans-Pacific ETOPS flight, so that means it's been obviously certified to fly across the Pacific with the two engines, since there's the whole ETOPS thing. And then the second one is a sister ship, the inaugural flight to LAX on July 20th of 1997. And then there's a third one named Pearl of the South. Now, I don't know, I think it's just right in front of the Boeing 777 titles. You can kind of see it there with the small text. It's a bit hard to see since this is just a standard resolution that NG has for the photos. One of the 200s up next, we have a Ryanair 737-800 wingletless example, which again I'll be able to show you. Just waiting for the image to load here because it's not working with me today. That's much better. Looking good. Iceland Air 757-200. They labeled this as the Aurora Northern Lights, but that's not correct. This is the 80-year special livery, which I just picked up the 1-400 Gemini release a couple months ago. Kind of want to get a 1-200 though, but I need to really assess my space on the shelves and everything, and then my budget is also the big concern. Southwest 737-700. This is the Arizona 1 livery. with the scimitar winglets. I remember spotting this when it had just the blended winglets. Very colorful. The blue seems a bit too saturated, I would say. I think it's actually a match of the blue that's on the tail, so we'll see if they update that when they actually make the model. Austrian Arrows CRJ 200, another 1 to 200 release. And then back to some 1 to 400 releases, we have the Tropical Singapore 747-400. And they did both of them because one of them actually did crash. I don't remember exactly which one it was. So it was Sierra Papa Kilo. This one is Papa Lima. And they did do Papa Kilo as well. So I don't know if they'll do a slightly different box art as sort of a tribute to those that died in that crash. I don't know what they will do with that, but we'll see what that looks like when the models come out. And in these, they have an exchange event going on right now. China Eastern 777-300ER Shanghai Museum special livery. One is an Ultimate Collection, and then this one would be the standard release. And then the latest future releases that are out as of me recording this video, Ryanair 737-800, one with the scimitar winglets, and then also another with, actually no, this is a MAX 8. I don't know why they labeled it as a 737-800 then, but this is a MAX 8. So that is the latest of the future releases. Quite an immense list, I will say. That is a lot to cover, and certainly interesting to see NG doing this. My guess is that they have heard all of the complaints on social media. I don't know much about the forums. I don't think they really check much in the way of like the die-cast aircraft forum or the model airliner forum, which is where, you know, I'm more active in at least. I don't know if they've seen the complaints on there as well alongside their social medias, and they're just noticing how many people are upset with the releases, and even those from their home country haven't been happy with how NG's been running things as of late. But it seems like with these future releases that we could be reaching a turning point for NG in hopes of turning things around to end 2025 on a good note, because, you know, I've given them a lot of flack for what they've released this year, but I have tried to give them credit where it's due with some of their latest releases. I know with the June releases, they did the PSA TriStar, which I give them huge props for doing. That one had been requested for many years, and I did pick that one up. And then in their August batch, the Sun Country Minnesota Gopher 737-800 is a very welcome release, despite the rest of it not exactly standing out in a way that I would have liked it to. So, despite some of the shortcomings that NG is having right now, they're at least making, you know, maybe 1 or 2 releases that would at least impress me. But it seems like that others are also finding ways to still be satisfied despite some of the issues with NG's releases right now. But I definitely think that with this upcoming September batch, there could very well be a scenario where they do a whole batch of these future releases if they have them already. I mean, there's also a chance that they could just do all of them at once for the September batch and just call it good. But, you know, you never know. NG is very much an unpredictable company. They have very creative ways on doing things, and sometimes it's been confusing for collectors and just all that. And I should also mention, too, most of these future releases have come from the CRP wishlist thing. That obviously has gotten its own share of scrutiny since it hasn't really delivered on collectors' expectations. Now, I wouldn't have expected it to be like an overnight thing, but it has taken a while for them to at least address some of these, because we've had instances where releases get made as soon as they're approved, but then yet ones that do get approved can sit around for several months at a time. There's no really consistent lead time for when these planes get made. And, you know, I'm not here to say that there should be a consistent lead time, but I think a little more communication on when these releases are going to get made after they've been approved would be helpful for collectors that want to know when a certain plane is coming out. And obviously there's a whole debacle too with certain planes having a lot of votes, but yet they're not approved. That's certainly been a very hot topic, but it seems like with what NG is doing, they are certainly getting a lot more wishes approved, which is a start, but the real progress is made when they actually release these darn things. So we'll certainly keep following this, and there will definitely be more analysis videos on this topic, because there's just a lot that's still developing with this, and we still have a few months left in 2025 before we can really draw any solid conclusions as to how NG performed this year. So I know there's been some analysis videos that were made just halfway through the year, but certainly a topic that will be revisited towards year's end and into early next year as to what NG has done for 2025 and what we want out of them for 2026 and what we can expect them to do regardless of what we want from that point on. So I'm definitely happy that NG is at least acknowledging that there are, a lot of people upset with how they're releasing or with what they are releasing right now. So these future releases seem to be their way of at least trying to find a middle ground to compensate for the lack of impressive releases in the last several batches that they've announced. So hopefully these will all start making their way into formal release batches in the future. Definitely going to be after the JetBlue Duncan A320. And what was the other one? The Korean Air 748. That was the other one that I wanted. And then just assess on what else there is that would be of interest to me. And we'll see if they keep announcing more future releases. I've just been following their Instagram since that's where they've been posting all these future releases. They do like one or two every couple of days is what I've noticed, but sometimes they'll do multiple in one day, just depending on what they approve and what they feel like doing, I guess. But that'll do it for this NG future release analysis video. Just kind of an informal analysis, really, just to see what's going on and what I hope will happen with all of this as we move forward, because, as much talk as there has been in the past, there hasn't been a whole lot lately, but I think the discussions on this will certainly reignite in the coming weeks and months as we see more releases out of NG for the rest of 2025. With that being said, that is the end of the video. Thanks for watching, and I will catch you in the next video.